Marcus had learned that the universe rarely rewarded good intentions, but he had not expected it to punish them so publicly. The conquered hall shimmered with layered gravity fields and translucent banners, each one broadcasting the insignia of a different civilization. Seats floated into position according to rank, species, and an algorithm so ancient no one admitted to understanding it. Marcus understood chairs, though. Someone was standing, someone else had arrived late, and protocol, plain human protocol, said you offered what you had. Queen Solara of the Calithi entered as if time itself had made room for her. The low hum of translators faltered, then steadied as if embarrassed. She looked almost human at first glance, until the long, elegant ears swept back from her silver hair and marked her as something older, sharper. Her eyes moved once across the chamber and stopped on Marcus, who was already halfway out of his seat. "My place, your radiance," he said, hating how small his voice sounded in a room designed to amplify authority. He expected her to nod, to take the chair, to let him fade into the anonymous standing ranks where junior officers belonged. Instead, Solara caught his wrist. Her grip was warm, steady, and entirely unconcerned with the collective intake of breath echoing through the hall. "No," she said, smiling faintly. "Let's both sit here." Then she pulled him down. Marcus had a brief, unhelpful thought about whether being dragged into history would hurt. It did not, physically, though several Calithi delegates looked as if they might require medical attention. Someone dropped a data slate. A translator rendered a Calithi curse into 5 different human dialects before giving up entirely. Solara settled beside him with the ease of someone claiming a throne, while Marcus sat rigidly, hands folded, as if good posture might save him. The chair expanded subtly to accommodate them both, which felt like betrayal from furniture he had trusted moments earlier. Proceedings resumed in a brittle approximation of normality. Diplomatic greetings were exchanged, agendas projected, and Marcus became acutely aware that every movement he made was being recorded, analyzed, and possibly declared illegal by at least 3 civilizations. Solara leaned slightly toward him. "Relax," she murmured. "If you faint, they'll assume it's a mating ritual." He choked, which somehow did not help. As speakers droned on about trade corridors and border disputes, Marcus noticed the Calithi Council watching them with expressions ranging from fury to strategic calculation. He did not know what shared seating meant to them, but he knew it meant something. Solara's presence beside him was deliberate, precise, like a blade placed carefully on a table. During a recess, she spoke again without looking at him. "They plan to announce my engagement today," she said lightly. "I found the idea tedious." Marcus stared straight ahead. "I'm honored to be part of your alternative," he said, then winced at himself. Her smile deepened just a fraction. "Good, because you're convincing, unassuming, and you offered me a chair without asking what it would cost." The hall filled once more, tension humming beneath the artificial gravity. Marcus felt it then, the shift, the sense that the seat he occupied was no longer just a seat. It was a statement, and he was sitting in it, hoping, absurdly, that staying upright would be enough. By the time the second session began, Marcus had learned 2 important facts. First, the chair was still there, waiting for him, which meant the universe had decided not to rewind. Second, several Calithi nobles were now pretending very badly that he did not exist. Their eyes slid past him as if he were a hologram with a billing error. Solara arrived beside him again without ceremony. No announcement, no dramatic pause. She simply sat, close enough that Marcus could feel the faint hum of her personal gravity field, tuned, he suspected, not for comfort, but for intimidation. The chair widened again. He glared at it briefly, as though betrayal might be shamed. "You slept?" she asked quietly. "I didn't," Marcus said. "I stared at a ceiling panel for 6 hours wondering if I'd accidentally proposed to you." "That would have involved kneeling," she replied. "And paperwork." He exhaled, relieved. "Only partially." Across the chamber, Councillor Threxil adjusted his ceremonial mantle with surgical precision. His ears, longer even than Solara's, flicked once in irritation. When he spoke, the translator sharpened his voice into something smooth and dangerous. "The council requests clarification," Threxil said, "regarding yesterday's display." Marcus felt Solara shift, not defensively but with interest, like someone settling in to watch an anticipated performance. "There is nothing unclear," she said. "I required a seat. Officer Marcus offered one. I accepted." Threxil's eyes cut briefly to Marcus, assessing him the way one might assess an unexpected structural flaw. "Shared seating implies intent." "Yes," Solara said pleasantly. "Mine." A murmur rippled through the hall. Marcus had the absurd thought that if he slid off the chair very slowly, perhaps no one would notice. During the recess that followed, Solara guided him into a side corridor under the pretense of reviewing star charts. The corridor curved in impossible angles, its walls alive with slow-moving constellations. "You're enjoying this," Marcus said. "A little," she admitted. "Mostly I'm buying time." She explained then, in fragments between interruptions from hovering aides and suspicious glances, how the council intended to bind her to House Vereen. Consolidation, stability, tradition, words that sounded noble until you lived inside them. Marcus listened, nodding, occasionally contributing the diplomatic equivalent of sympathetic noises. "And me?" he asked. "Am I leverage? A distraction? A very bold chair?" "You are unexpected," Solara said. "Which makes you useful," he grimaced. "That's the nicest threatening thing anyone's ever said to me." Their strategy sessions became a rhythm over the following days. Sit together, speak just enough, let rumors ferment. Marcus learned to read Calithi expressions, subtle shifts of ear and posture that conveyed entire arguments. Solara learned that humans used humor as armor and occasionally borrowed it, dry and sharp. When a junior delegate accused Marcus of manipulation, Solara replied, "If he were capable of that, I would have promoted him already." The chamber laughed. Marcus wondered if survival counted as a promotion. By the end of the day, the chair felt less like a trap and more like a test. Marcus sat straighter, spoke when spoken to, and began to realize that the absurdity of it all did not make it less real. It made it sharper. As the lights dimmed for the final recess, Solara leaned closer. "They're watching to see if you'll stand up," she said. He glanced at the chair, at the council, at the vast waiting stars beyond the hull. "And if I don't?" Her smile was small and genuine. "Then we'll have to decide what sitting together really means." The last session of the summit opened with silence, the dangerous kind that meant decisions had already been made somewhere Marcus had not been invited. The Concord Hall felt smaller than before, as if the gravity fields had leaned inward to listen. The chair was still there. It had become absurdly familiar. Marcus sat without waiting for Solara, which he realized was new. 3 days ago, he would have hovered nervously, half standing, half apologizing for existing. Now he adjusted the chair's settings himself when it tried to accommodate only one occupant. He did it gently, like reminding an animal of a learned habit. Solara arrived moments later, her presence drawing eyes whether she wanted it or not. She paused when she saw him already seated, one brow lifting in quiet amusement. "You're early," she said. "I didn't want it thinking I'd abandoned it," he replied, tapping the armrest. "It's sensitive." She laughed, a soft sound that cut through the tension more effectively than any decree. She sat, and the chair expanded without hesitation this time, as if it had finally accepted the arrangement. Councillor Threxil stood. His mantle seemed heavier than before, the ceremonial lights along its edge dimmed in a subtle sign of concession. "The council has concluded its deliberations," he said. "The Queen's conduct has forced a re-evaluation." Marcus noticed the phrasing. Forced, not inspired. Progress, he was learning, rarely arrived graciously. The proposed union with House Vereen is withdrawn, Threxel continued. A ripple passed through the Calithi delegates, some relieved, others furious. However, the implications of the Queen's chosen symbolism must be addressed. Solara leaned back slightly. "You mean him," she said, nodding toward Marcus. Threxel's gaze fixed on Marcus again, but this time it lacked contempt. It was wary. A human seated beside a Calithi monarch challenges precedent. Marcus cleared his throat before he could overthink it. "So did indoor plumbing," he said. Eventually it worked out. A few delegates laughed despite themselves. Solara smiled openly now. "The council fears erosion," Threxel said, "of hierarchy, of purity." Solara's voice sharpened, just enough. "The council fears change it cannot control." She rose then, and the hall shifted with her. Marcus stood too, instinctively, then paused. Slowly, deliberately, he sat back down. The moment stretched. Solara looked at him, surprise flickering across her features, followed by something warmer. She remained standing, addressing the room. "This human was not chosen for convenience," she said, "nor for provocation alone. He was chosen because he stood without calculation. He offered without knowing the cost, and when the cost became clear, he stayed." Marcus felt heat creep up his neck. He focused on breathing, on the steady hum of the station beyond the walls. "I will not be bound by traditions that reduce partnership to ownership," Solara continued. "Nor will I allow my species to treat humanity as ornamental allies. If that unsettles the council, then be unsettled." Threxel inclined his head, just a fraction. "And Officer Marcus, what is his role in this reformation?" All eyes turned to him. Marcus stood again, this time fully. He thought of the chair, of the fear that had once pinned him to it, and of the quiet confidence that had replaced it. "I'm not a symbol," he said. "I'm a participant, or I walk away." The silence returned, thinner now. Solara looked at him, long ears tilting back in a gesture he now recognized as approval. "Then stay," she said. "Not as consort, not as property, as partner." The council did not vote that day. They adjourned, which in Calithi politics was the closest thing to surrender. Later, as the hall emptied and the stars outside resumed their patient drift, Marcus sat beside Solara once more. The chair no longer shifted, it simply was. "So," he said, "did we just rewrite interstellar protocol?" She considered. "We dented it." He smiled. It felt earned. As they rose together, Marcus realized something else had changed. He no longer wondered whether the seat was temporary. He knew now that standing or sitting was never the point. Choosing was.